Hi there, it's Jacob. Reading Proverbs 23 for you this morning, and sharing a few thoughts, and yeah, we'll just go from here. Proverbs 23 says, "When you sit down to dine with a ruler, consider carefully what is before you, and put a knife to your throat if you are a man of great appetite." I love the literature here. Do not desire his delicacies, for it is deceptive food. Do not weary yourself to gain wealth. Cease from your consideration of it. When you set your eyes on it, it is gone. For wealth certainly makes itself wings, like an eagle that flies towards the heavens. Do not eat the bread of a selfish man, or desire his delicacies. For as he thinks within himself, so he is. He says to you, "Eat and drink," but his heart is not with you. You will vomit up the morsel you have eaten, and waste your compliments. Do not speak in the hearing of a fool, for he will despise the wisdom of your words. Do not move the ancient boundary, or go into the fields of the fatherless, for their Redeemer is strong. He will plead their case against you. Apply your heart to discipline and your ears to words of knowledge. Do not hold back discipline from the child. Although you strike him with the rod, he will not die. You shall strike him with the rod and rescue his soul from Sheol. My son, if your heart is wise, my own heart also will be glad, and my inmost being will rejoice when your lips speak what is right. Do not let your heart envy sinners, but live in the fear of the Lord always. Surely there is a future, and your hope will not be cut off. Listen, my son, and be wise, and direct your heart in the way. Do not be with heavy drinkers of wine, or with gluttonous eaters of meat. For the heavy drinker and the glutton will come to poverty, and drowsiness will clothe one with rags. Listen to your father who begot you, and do not despise your mother when she is old. Buy truth, and do not sell it. Get wisdom and instruction and understanding. The father of the righteous will greatly rejoice, and he who sires a wise son will be glad in him. Let your father and your mother be glad, and let her rejoice who gave birth to you. Give me your heart, my son, and let your eyes delight in my ways. For a harlot is a deep pit, and an adulterous woman is a narrow well. Surely she lurks as a robber, and increases the faithless among men. Who has woe? Who has sorrow? Who has contentions? Who has complaining? Who has wounds without cause? Who has redness of eyes? Those who linger long over wine, those who go to taste mixed wine. Do not look on the wine when it is red, when it sparkles in the cup, when it goes down smoothly. At the last it bites like a serpent and stings like a viper. Your eyes will see strange things, and your mind will utter perverse things. And you will be like one who lies down in the middle of the sea, or like one who lies down on top of a mast. They struck me, but I did not become ill. They beat me, but I did not know it. When shall I awake? I will seek another drink. Proverbs are filled with wisdom. Filled with wisdom. Plain wisdom. Don't drink too much. Filled with wisdom. Verse 20. Don't hang out with barbarians. People, heavy drinkers and gluttonous meat eaters. I see that as a barbarian. Don't hang out with them. Do not be with. Just the commands to, do not weary yourself to gain wealth. Do not let your heart envy sinners. But okay, if the command is beautiful. I love it. Okay, here's a command. Do not let your heart envy sinners. And then, well, what am I supposed to do? It says right after that, but live in the fear of the Lord always. Do not speak in the hearing of a fool, for he will despise the wisdom of your words. Do not move the ancient boundary, or go into the fields of the fatherless. These are all words of wisdom. Do not eat the bread of selfish man. or desire his delicacies. It's really awesome. And I've always liked verse 15 and 16 because to me this verse 15 and 16 tell me that what the Father, what my heavenly Father, what he likes and what pleases him. And it says right here in 15, it says, "My son, if your heart is wise, my own heart will also be glad." If we're wise as God's kids, his heart's going to be glad. And that's true because the Bible says so right there, 15. And my inmost being will rejoice when your lips speak what is right. Uh, and How are we to get our lips to speak what is right if we don't know what is right? So we need to grow in wisdom. We need to grow in our understanding, grow in godliness. Allow him to shape us. Allow the Master to have his way with us. And I love verse 12. It says, "Apply your heart to discipline and your ears to words of knowledge." So it's instruction. Okay, what should you be doing in your life? You have a little bit of life, and your life is just a mist. Well, here's some instruction. Here's some wisdom. This is wisdom for anybody, and more so, and even more so for the man who's the godly man. It says, "Apply your heart to discipline and your ears to the words of knowledge." There you go. It says, "Do not hold back discipline from the child." It says, "Do not let your heart envy sinners. Do not be with heavy drinkers or gluttonous eat-eaters. For the heavy drinker and the glutton will come to poverty." This is a loving Father. He doesn't want us to come to poverty. He doesn't want poverty for people. He doesn't want poverty for kids. But these patterns, heavy drinking, eating too much meat, it's a barbarian. It's a glutton. Doing things to the extreme. Remember, the enemy wants to get us way out of balance, way out of whack. Too much of this and too much of that, or none of that, when it's totally okay to have. And a loving Father is just giving us words of wisdom to live by and instruction to abide in on how to not, destruction is the goal and the aim of the enemy. He came to steal, kill, and destroy. And our loving Father in heaven came that we may have life and have it abundantly. He who has the Son has life. He who does not have the Son does not have life. And if you have the Son, then you have life. You have a slice of life. You have a drip of life. You have a oil inside of you of life, eternal life living inside of you. Jesus living inside of you. And wisdom. This is just wisdom for us kids. Because what child knows how to live? What little kid knows how to do his way? If he did, then we wouldn't need. In verse 13, it says we wouldn't need discipline for the child. It says, "Do not withhold back discipline from the child. Although you strike him with a rod, he will not die." If little children and us kids knew how to live, we wouldn't need discipline. We wouldn't need the belt. We wouldn't need the rod, as is described here. But we don't. And even adults, we see adults all over the street acting as little kids. We do this, but especially we see it all over. Guys, men in this culture think it's really cool to just. I saw a pedal bike the other day where men can sit on the bike, have somebody pedal it while they drink beer as the bike goes around the town. You got to be kidding me! It's like, how is that helping anything or anybody at all? And that's the culture. That's the world system culture that is pervading hearts and minds, and it's destruction. Lazy men sitting on a bike drinking beer to their heart's content. That's not the way. That's not the way to find life. And these words are from a loving Father. These are what these Proverbs are for. Our Father is for us. He wants us to live well and live rightly and live beside Him. And when we gain in wisdom, verse 15 says, "My son, if your heart is wise, my heart also will be glad." And we don't just go to the marketplace and buy a bottle of wisdom and drink it. We need to be actively seeking it and praying and asking the Father, Father, give me wisdom. Solomon asked for wisdom. Guess what? He got it. The wisest man to ever walk the face of the earth. You know? And so if we're asking for wisdom, that's rejoicing the Father's heart. And when we get it, and our heart is wise, our heart is filled with wisdom, that pleases the Lord because we're acting and living in a way that is not unbecoming. There's something I've learned in my days is there's actually a penalty in golf. I used to play a lot of golf. There's a penalty in golf. It says acting in conduct unbecoming of a professional. It's a true short penalty. And sometimes you can. I've never had it happen to me. I'm sure it could have happened to me, but it didn't. But it's a penalty where when you act unbecomingly of a professional, when you're doing things and blurting out obscenities and chucking clubs and being rude and just out of control, you're not acting as a professional in the golf field. And so it's a too short penalty, and it's a very fine line. It's kind of an unspoken rule. It's not like you. It's a out of control rule. It's to get the golfer back into self-control, back into the game, focus, and maybe he'll learn from it next time. So anyway, I was thinking of that word. In verse 26, give me your heart, my son, and let your eyes delight in my ways. Give me your heart. That's our Father. Give me your heart. We're so afraid of getting hurt. We've been hurt so badly from day one in this earth. Hurt and disappointed by people, by relatives, by parents, by friends, siblings growing up, teachers. We've been hurt from basketball teams. That giving our heart away is, C.S. Lewis says, if you never want to ever experience pain, put your heart and lock it in a box. Don't love a dog. Don't love anybody. And to risk pain is to love. And to give our heart to someone, to give our heart to God. Say, here you go. Here's my heart. Here's the desires of my heart. Here's the feelings of my heart. Here's what's going on in my heart. To give that to our Father, that's a bold thing, and that's the instructions of the Proverbs today. Proverbs 23. Give me your heart, my son. Let your eyes delight in my ways. Let your eyes. What are we fixing our eyes on? What are we fixing our eyes on? I love that word let. Let. To me, that's a gentle, soft word. It's let your eyes settle. Let your eyes not look up, down, or just let them settle. Let your eyes delight in my ways. It's not a very anxious position. It's a relaxed position. It's a resting position. To let your eyes just rest, let your eyes settle, and let your eyes delight in my ways. That requires us to think. That requires us to take notice. That requires us to pray. That requires to watch. That requires us to listen. Because how are we going to know the ways of the Lord when we're so saturated in the ways of the world, in our own way? All right, this is Jacob, and this is Proverbs 23 in September 2013.